Hey everyone, this is me. Welcome back. A few years ago, we did a very short video about mailboxes with some 3D tests. Since then, I've been wanting to make something more substantial, like a 3D animated short film. So here's our first attempt. The story is about a mailbox. In the early 1940s, in a quiet countryside, there stood an old wooden house near the end of a long gravel driveway. And in front of the house stood an even older mailbox. Back then, it had a bright red paint job and was sturdy enough to last the test of time. One day, a young boy named Thomas would stand next to the mailbox and wait for his father to return from work. You see, his dad was a soldier who had gone off to war, leaving Thomas and his mother behind in their quiet little home. All Thomas had were the letters that his dad sent him. He kept them tucked away in a box under his bed, each one a tangible piece of his dad that he could hold on to. Whenever Thomas received a letter from his dad, he would run out to the mailbox and check it for any new mail. But lately, the letters had stopped coming. Thomas missed his dad terribly. So one day, he decided to do something drastic. He sat down at the kitchen table with a piece of paper and a pencil and wrote a letter to his dad. He wrote about how much he missed him, about school and his friends, and how he couldn't wait for him to come home. He sealed the letter and rushed outside to drop it in the mailbox. He knew that his dad was far away, but somehow he still believed that the letters that he sent would just magically appear in his dad's hands. And as if by some miracle, the next day, Thomas received a reply. His dad had written back. From that moment on, Thomas became even more devoted to writing letters to his dad every day. Each letter was filled with stories about his life, his hopes and dreams, and his longing for his dad to come home. And each time he received a letter in return, he would rush to the mailbox, open it, and read every word as if it were the most precious gift in the world. The letters became a lifeline for Thomas, connecting him to his dad in a way that nothing else could. They were a reminder that even though his dad was far away, he was still loved and missed. And as Thomas grew older, his letters became more serious, filled with questions about the world and his place in it. He grappled with the complexities of life, love, loss, and the meaning of it all. And through it all, he poured his heart out to his dad, knowing that he would always be there for him. In the meantime, the seasons changed. Autumn turned to winter, then to spring, and then to summer again. Year after year, Thomas grew older, yet he never stopped writing letters to his dad. Every morning when he woke up, he would go to the mailbox and retrieve the stack of letters that he had written. Then he would take them to the post office to be sent off. Meanwhile, the war raged on. Thomas's dad fought bravely alongside his comrades, always thinking of his wife and son back home. Whenever he had a moment to himself, he would sit down and write a letter to Thomas, pouring his heart out to his son, telling him stories about his adventures and expressing his love for him. He knew that the letters might not arrive on time or even arrive at all, but he still wrote them anyway. He had promised his son that he would always write back, and he intended to keep that promise. Then, one day, Thomas's dad received orders that his unit was being deployed to a dangerous mission. He knew that it might be his last, and so he took a moment to write a final letter to Thomas. He told his son how proud he was of him and how much he loved him. He asked forgiveness for any mistakes he had made and promised to always be with him in spirit. He sealed the letter and gave it to a comrade, asking him to please deliver it to Thomas if he didn't make it back. With that, his dad joined his fellow soldiers and charged into battle. But fate had other plans. The mission was a disaster. Most of the soldiers were killed, including Thomas's dad. The comrade who had been given the task of delivering the final letter to Thomas stumbled and fell, causing the letter to fall out of his pocket and get lost in the chaos. Meanwhile, back home, Thomas waited anxiously for his dad's reply to his latest letter. But week after week, the mail arrived and there was no letter from his dad. Confused and scared, he went to the mailbox and stared at it, wondering what had happened. Had his dad forgotten about him? Was he angry with him? Had the war taken his dad away forever? As the days turned into weeks and the weeks turned into months, Thomas began to lose hope. He didn't want to believe that his dad was gone, but the silence from the war-torn world was deafening. He continued to write letters to his dad, pouring out his grief, his anger, and his loneliness. But as time went on, the letters became less frequent. Eventually, Thomas stopped writing altogether. He couldn't bear the pain of pouring his heart out only to receive silence in return. The house fell into disrepair. The paint peeled from the walls and the roof began to leak. Thomas grew up and eventually moved away, taking his memories of his dad with him. Years passed and the house stood empty, the mailbox forgotten, rusty, and half-bent. Then one crisp autumn afternoon, a grown man returned quietly. It was Thomas, now in his 30s. He walked slowly towards the mailbox and gently placed a single weathered envelope inside. It was addressed simply to Dad. He didn't need to know where his father was or what had become of him. All he needed was the solace of knowing that he had done everything he could to find him. He walked away slowly, leaving the mailbox in silence once again. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the driveway, the flag on the mailbox rose slowly on its own, one last time. So that's the end of our little story. We wanted to tell this story without any dialogue, so we put a lot of effort into the music, the sound design, and the animation to convey the emotions of the story. The mailbox is kind of like the main character of the story, so we gave it a lot of attention in both the modeling and the animation. Our goal was to make a story that would appeal to a wide audience, something that people of all ages could enjoy. We feel like we accomplished that with this story. I want to extend a huge thank you to our crew. This project was a massive undertaking, and none of it would have been possible without their hard work and dedication. I also want to thank all of our supporters for your continued support. Making animated films is a labor of love, and your support helps us to continue making the films that we are passionate about. Alright, everyone, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you liked our little film, don't forget to show your support. Until next time, everyone, stay creative.